Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, just came from outside dealing with the dogs. Um, there is just one he needs to be tamed like a horse, and so he is definitely challenging me, and I'm up to the challenge. You know what I'm saying? I'm just up to the challenge. Right now, he is locked down, and I gave him shelter so that when it rains, I don't have to worry about them. And when the wind blows tonight, because we're supposed to have high winds up to 50-mile-an-hour gusts up until 6 p.m. tomorrow. And so I put up a barricade so that he doesn't have to worry about the wind. You see how much I care about that mutt? Now, hold on now. I was having a conversation with a young man earlier today. It was a biblical conversation. Now, I'm not about to have that conversation now, but I created an app. It's called the Biblical Scholar. It uses three versions of the Bible: the New World Translation, the King James Version, the New King James Version, and the NIV. And it does the parallel thing. So what I did is I asked it a question. Now he had some questions because there was some Bible chronology that he said just didn't add up. And so I told him, but that's explained. I said, but you can't use the Bible to do history because the Bible is not a history book. A lot of people read the Bible as if it's a history book. It's not a history book. Well, it tells Jewish history. No, it tells the history of the Messiah and the lineage of the Messiah. That's what it was for. You don't believe me? Go back and read it. From the very beginning, there was a plan. Genesis 3:15, 14 and 15 technically. But Genesis 3:15 lets you know what the plan was. There was a promised seed from the very beginning. Why? Well, see, if I explained that to you, then I'd be going too far ahead because I'd be taking to the book of Hebrews where it tells you about the plan. Okay, but see, that's the thing. Most people, they don't know because they're not putting the scriptures together as it was designed. And so that's what his and I conversation was about. Yeah, I said his and I. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, the Bible is not read like a book. It is read like a puzzle. Every scripture has two other scriptures supporting it, backing it. Okay, without that, then your so-called interpretation is false. If you can't find the other two scriptures supporting, and they have to support the exact context, cannot be partially supporting. It has to be the exact context, or it's not to be believed. That's why Paul says, never go beyond what is written. He's starting to understand that. We've only had a couple of conversations, and the conversation is not forced. I didn't tell him I was going to do it. He leads the conversation. Now, I listen, but I listen up to a point because if I hear something that doesn't correlate with scripture, then he'll hear me quote a scripture because he's read so many verses of the Bible that he understands what I'm saying when I quote what I quote. So he gets it. But then I take him here and I let him see the answers to his questions without me interfering, without me leading him and telling him what to do. I just ask the system simple questions and it provides the answer. I don't have to say, no, you're wrong or anything like that because it already has the history. It's not allowed to go beyond scripture. Okay. And so far, I know that AI is of the devil. And anyway, shut up. So far, it has been accurate. And the reason why it has been accurate because I tested it against what I already know about scripture. Ta-da! See, the conversation was about Darius of the Medes, not Darius, Darius. Okay, that it's a Persian name, it's not an English name. So Darius the Great. So you had Darius of the Medes, and he was also known as Darius the Great. And Daniel never confuses him with the Persian Darius. See, there are two Dariuses. Shh, shh, don't tell nobody. But it gave him the diagram so he could see it himself. Where you at, diagram? Uh-oh, give me a second. Where you at? Come on, that right there. Gave him the diagram of the King Cyrus the Second, then his Cambyses the Second, Darius' son, and then Darius the First, who ruled with Cyrus the Great and Darius the Great. Then you had Xerxes, Artaxerxes, or well, Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus. Okay. Then you had Artaxerxes. So you had Xerxes and you had Artaxerxes. And I'm not going to say Longomanus. I'm not going to say Longomanus. That ain't no reason for it. Then you had Darius the second. Okay. Ruled after Xerxes, Artaxerxes the first. Then you had Artaxerxes the second and Artaxerxes the third. You remember the 300? That's right. That was him. Okay. Ta-da! That was our conversation. Now look, I want to have a different conversation right now. Let me get rid of that. Come on now. Go, go, go. It don't want to go, y'all. It just don't want to go. What is this? This is Word not responding. Word up, Word. What up? Word, why ain't you responding? Word up. Everybody say. Okay, let me put y'all on. Well, I can do it. I just don't want to have no problems with Word. Word ain't even supposed to be open. So let me shut down Word while I'm talking. Okay, because I was talking. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to have a conversation with you. I left the comments open on one video, and I will say that most of the people who are leaving comments are respectful. They're my people. And so they already know they've watched me do enough videos and talk about people. So they have been virtually respectful, and guess what? I appreciate it. Now, I need y'all to understand something. I need Microsoft. It's under Microsoft Office one click. I don't want one click. I want Word. I can't find Word here. Oh, it's up here. Duh. Where you at, Word? I don't see Word neither. Okay. It says it's still open, but I don't see it. Oh, snap. It's supposed to be there. All right. Can't do Office one click because that ain't it. So there it is right there. Where at? No, right there. Come on now. Just click on it. And shut up. All right. I don't see it, y'all. So we gon' we gonna put y'all on pause while I get rid of it because that's the only way I can do it. So 1 second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I had to splice this video together, so we're going to continue where we left off at. Look, the comments are open on one video only, and that's what I do periodically. However, the comments have remained respectful, and I appreciate that. Let's talk about something, if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have done, I'm sorry, like Pontius Pilate said, what I have done, I have done. What I have done is for the benefit of those whom choose, wish, and want to avail themselves of it. Everybody else, they gotta pay bills. They gotta. I went on purpose, people. I went on purpose and changed how I live so that I could do this to help you all. It's okay because it's just a sacrifice. Look, if you don't understand life, life is all about sacrifice. If you didn't get it, then go back and look at how someone sacrificed their son, or how someone was asked to sacrifice a son, how families sacrifice for their children, how they sacrifice for each other, how a mother would sacrifice for her child. Life is all about sacrifice. And if you don't understand that, then you'll never get it. I don't need to do something for money. Now, there was a comment by an individual saying, I should let it go because it's just paper money. It's just monopoly money. It's just play money. It's just make believe money. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about the money. If it was about the money, I would never have given that to somebody I didn't know. Shh, pay attention. If it was about the money, I never would have given that if I equated a value to it in the first place. Just like the gentleman who I gave $32,000 to, who I thought was a friend. You have to give people an opportunity to hang themselves. So you give them enough rope, but you have to give them just enough because you don't want their feet touching the ground. Okay, so you have to give them enough rope to hang themselves. And so you have to measure it. I don't just do that to anybody. I do that to people who pretend that they're better than everybody else, who pretend that they're not capable of doing such things. I do that to people who convince themselves that, man, they wouldn't do nothing wrong, and they always. They're always looking at someone else and thinking about how wrong they were. Give me a second, I'll explain. We're going to do it this way because it's easier. I'm cooking, that's why I had to go to the stove. But we're going to do it this way because it's easier to explain it to you this way. I know a man who they don't get along, he and his relatives, and the relatives technically hate him and really didn't want him marrying their daughter. And they literally didn't have any appreciation for this man. Ladies and gentlemen, all you have to do is sit back and observe because for every story, for every myth, for every legend, there is some truth to it. Well, I had to learn that the relatives may have been accurately justified. There is a young lady that I know, and she is struggling. Now, I'm going to tell it to you like it is. When you talk to her, she can do no wrong. Everybody else is wrong. You guys know what I'm talking about, but you can't tell her that because it's like you're speaking negative to her. And I don't pull punches with people. And I warned this person. I said, you need to do this and do that and do that. If you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems. And they made up all the excuses in the world. I don't have time, and I don't. You don't have time. That's the young lady who spent 3 years in, I mean, 3 years, 3 weeks in jail away from her family because she didn't have time. So guess what? She had to reap what she sowed. She made time, just not her time. I have this experience all the time of trying to warn people. Why? Because I made a lot of stupid decisions in the past where I was warned. There were scriptures telling me, hey, don't do that. No, 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 stay away from that. Oh, definitely don't go anywhere near those people. Those are not your friends. And I ignored it. Yeah, I won't do that no more. See, I don't want anyone to suffer, but I do want people to learn from their mistakes because you can only grow if you learn from your mistake. So I did the video to let you guys know that these individuals I felt took advantage of me because I'm the so-called nice guy. Oh, you sound so mean on videos. You can't be nice. Okay. And I guess, look, 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 I've done my wrong, but this is not me reaping what I've sown. I've reaped what I've sown. I don't get to control how long I reap, but you can trust me, I've reaped what I've sown. I'm not reaping anymore. You see, because I'm not sowing anything negative, anything bad. I break my neck not to. I stay away from people because I can't stand people because people get on my last nerve. Why? Because they act like those two. Hold on now. Don't you understand? I was testing them. That's why I told both of them the same thing. I warned everybody before it happens. I said, look, I am not going to be that person. I am going to sit back and I'm going to watch you reap what you sow if you don't fulfill your promise. They didn't fulfill their promise. And yes, they've been suffering. Some people say, well, I don't really think they are. But yes, but it's not, you haven't had the conversations with them. You see, I know that they've been suffering because of the way they communicated with me when I communicated with them just this day. The young lady, she tried to come up with excuses. I told her I don't want to hear excuses. The young man, I basically said, hey, you know, you're not going to get a tax refund this year. I just literally told him that because I'm not going to let you do that to me, is what I told him. Literally, what I told him. Why? Because what he did wasn't right. You see, as I mentioned, there was a situation. He knew circumstances changed, but he didn't tell me about those circumstances that changed because he wanted me to give him more funds. I was only out $20,000 at that point, but I ended up giving him 8,000 plus another five. You feel me? And he knew his circumstances had changed. And when I tell him, oh no, you knew because I brought it to your attention and you told me I had to draw it out of you. So you did know. But he, even today, he wanted to tell me that wasn't true. And then he got silent as if I was wrong and he couldn't convince me of the truth. Son, I was there. I was part of the conversation. I was a party to the issues, the facts. I was there. So you have to. I don't test everybody. Well, yes, I do. Sorry. I'm sorry. I do test everybody. Why? Because, okay, now you guys are not going to believe this, and I don't want you to get upset, and I don't want any of you to take this personal. But people only contact me because they need something. Now, let me explain so that you get it. It's not the first time. This has been my whole life. I told you when I was 8 years old, the adults would come to me to ask me questions to help them with their private matters in their home and their relationships with their husbands. My cousin, I tell you, I love her with all of my heart. She passed away, and I think it was 1996. No, 1994. 1994 to 1995. We called her Pee Wee. Pee Wee would sit and talk to me all the time about what was going on in her family and her relationship with her husband. Don't get me wrong, she wasn't taking advantage of me. She just needed somebody to talk to. That's why that was my favorite cousin. And I know my cousin loved me and I loved her. And she was in her 60s when she passed. So we're having this conversation. I'm in my 20s at that point. But when I was younger, 8, 9 years old, she would pull me to the side and we would just talk. You see, that was me growing up. All of the adults would come talk to me. My brothers and sisters were too busy playing. They didn't see all of this going on with the adults, telling me about their relationship, telling me about what's going on in the marriage. We didn't have the sexual type talks because that wasn't it. This was about the dealing with situations and circumstances. Sometimes we would talk finances, sometimes we would talk law. And I had to be up on that conversation when I would have the conversation with them. So I had to do a little bit of studying what I could do with the little bit we had at that time because we didn't have the internet. So if you go back and listen, I spent most of my time in libraries doing research. I didn't go out and play. My mother bought that World Book Encyclopedia when I was 13 years old. I think it was 13 years old. You better believe I wore that World Book Encyclopedia out. Okay? I literally wore that junk out. And it became outdated because we got it in 1982, 83, and she bought it primarily for me. She spent that money on that she did not have primarily for me. So to this day, people come to me because they have problems. I don't mind that. But it takes time and it takes energy and it takes mental strength to handle everybody's problems. If you guys only knew the amount of energy and how taxing it is to have people tell you their problems and to have those problems weigh on you. There was a consult I did today with a young lady. Her husband was not too happy with her because she stopped paying her mortgage. You know how some of you listen to those stupid videos and you stop paying your mortgage? And I have to tell her the same thing I tell everybody. And I told it to her and him today. That's the wrong thing to do. You don't just stop paying your mortgage. You have to get their attention first and say, hey, I need you to answer some questions. Now, as I told you, I did the video pointing out to all of you All you got to do is document that, yes, this was a simple contract, Your Honor, but this contract is under the Federal Reserve Act. You see that document they're holding in their hand? That proves that they received my deposit. They are a member bank of the Federal Reserve. Here is the borrower in custody agreement. And you hold up Operating Circular 10, Section 12.3. And to prove to you that what I'm talking about is the law, please take a look at Appendix number 3 right here, where it says that I applied for the capacity to borrow from the Federal Reserve. Now, Your Honor, when you get a chance, go read 12 USC 411. Only a reserve bank can borrow Federal Reserve notes from the Federal Reserve. So I applied for that capacity. So I was conducting banking business because that's the only definition you can get of banking business is getting a loan from a bank, the Federal Reserve Bank. That's banking business. So because I was engaged in banking business, the law qualifies me as a bank. Oh no, you can go, Your Honor, you can go read the Clearinghouse Act, the Check 21st Act. Yeah, go ahead and read Section 3, subsection 2. Says any person in a state engaged in banking business is a bank. So I fit the definition because this was banking business. So I was under the Federal Reserve Act. I wasn't under the Securities Act. So this is a security under the Federal Reserve Act. And that deposit, oh, if you go back and, Your Honor, just trust me, go and read Title 4, Section 401, Paragraph 18. Oh, well, subsection 18, Paragraph 6. And you'll see it says that my note was received at par. And to prove to you that my note was received at par, they got it right there. It was a deposit. Oh, yeah, it's got an endorsement on it too, but we're not going to talk about that. You see, I didn't borrow the money from them, Your Honor. They can't be the creditor. No, the Federal Reserve Act says the Federal Reserve is the creditor, and they don't have a power of attorney saying they represent the Federal Reserve because then, they have a conflict of interest. They can't be my power of attorney and the Federal Reserve's power of attorney at the same time. See, I gave them the power to act in my behalf. Now, if you don't believe me, go back and look at the borrower in custody agreement. Yeah, that's Section 12.3 is what I just told you. Oh, and by the way, go look at 12 USC 414. It says the Federal Reserve gave the money to them on my behalf. Well, I ain't never received that money. So what account did that money go in? I need to see those records, Your Honor, because it has something to do with me. Now, you guys like to say the security doesn't have anything to do with me and the trading doesn't have, and the mortgage back doesn't have nothing. Well, that has something to do with me because the act says that they receive it on my behalf. So I have a right to know that accounting, and ASC 860, as well as Uniform Commercial Code adopted by this state, the commercial code now associated with 9-210. Yes, Section 210. Yeah, you know it? Okay, well, that says that I asked them for an accounting and I asked them for a listing of the collateral, which includes what account my collateral is in, and they ain't never told me nothing. I asked them several times. Ta-da, Your Honor. They can't rebut that, but that's proof that I don't owe them any money because it was received as a deposit and they are not the lender. They don't have standing. So you'll have to dismiss their claim with prejudice and you have to sanction them for committing fraud upon the court. And you have to refer this to the Attorney General's office. You know the law, Your Honor. Yeah, I know your little kangaroo courts, but you still have to follow procedure. So you know the law, Your Honor. Follow procedure. Go back over what I just did, what I just said. Understand what I just said. Put your documents together and let that be your argument in every court, whether it is unlawful detainer or anything else. Prove that they are not the lender. Show the act. Show the so-called borrower in custody agreement. Show the appendix number 3. Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Okay, show that. All right, gotta let y'all go. Arrivederci.